you're lying in bed. The lights are off, and your mind won't stop. It cycles through tomorrow's tasks, last week's mistakes, a talk you can't undo. Your chest tightens. Your breath gets shallow. You tell yourself to relax. But the thoughts keep pulling. One toward the future, one toward the past, one toward something you can't even name. Here's what's strange. About 2,000 years ago, a Greek word was coined for exactly this feeling. Not untuitiufrot, setintiuhunt, pratut worry donnet t2 fi, tis tiuan fi. Not as stress, tan theet, tihen, t-dirt, something more precise. A word that means your mind is being torn apart. And the people who wrote it down didn't just name it. They left behind a map for getting out. But to understand that map, we need to go back. Not to the ancient world, to right now. To the scale of what we're facing. Picture a room with 100 people in it. A handful of them, right now, are living with clinical anxiety. Not passing nerves before a speech. Not butterflies on a first date. A grinding daily weight that shapes every choice they make. Multiply that room by millions, across every country, every culture, every income level. That's the world we live in. And it's not just a private battle. The ripple effects touch everything. Missed work, broken sleep, bonds that bend under the weight of fear neither person can explain. The cost, in lost work, strained families, overwhelmed health systems, is staggering. So we search for answers. Therapy helps. Medicine helps. But a growing number of people are looking further back. Way further. They're opening texts written long before brain scans and clinical trials. And they're finding something that feels like it was written for them. Now, here's where most people get it wrong. They think the Bible just says, "Man, don't worry," and moves on. As if someone could snap their fingers and make dread vanish. That's not what's happening in these passages. Not even close. The key sits inside a single Greek word. The writers of the New Testament chose a term that shows up dozens of times across the Gospels and Paul's letters. The word sounds like michan mer imna. It doesn't mean read worry the way we use it today. It means something closer to andra mind pulled in two directions. A divided mind. A split, like two hands grabbing the same rope and yanking opposite ways. You're lying in that dark room, remember? One thread of thought tugs toward your job, another toward your family, another toward a future you can't control. That's not just nerves, that's breaking apart. Your inner world cracking along its fault lines. And the ancient writers saw it clearly. Matthew's gospel drives this home in a way that's almost ruthless. In a single passage, Jesus uses this word again and again. He's not whispering gentle comfort. He's hammering a point. He's saying, look at what worry is doing to you. It's splitting you. It's making you less whole. But naming the problem is only the first step. What comes next is what most people miss. The common belief is that faith means pushing fear down, pretending it isn't there. Smile wider, pray harder, feel nothing. That reading couldn't be more wrong. When Scripture says, "None fear not," it's not telling you to shut off your feelings. It's pointing your trust somewhere new. There's a massive gap between denial and that kind of shift. Denial says, "Shun, this isn't real." Shifting says, "This is real, and I'm choosing where to anchor dot." Those two words, and fear not, show up over and over across the Old and New Testaments. That's not a footnote. That's not a passing theme. It's a drumbeat. The writers kept returning to this phrase because they knew fear would keep returning too. But what does a fear not sound like when the storm is real? When the waves are crashing? When the boat is filling with water? That's exactly the scene Mark's gospel paints. A boat full of grown men, seasoned fishermen, caught in a squall so fierce they believe they're about to die. And in the back of the boat, someone is asleep. They shake him awake, furious. "Don't you care that we're drowning?" And he stands up, faces the wind, and the sea goes flat. The story isn't just about power over weather. It's about where calm lives when chaos is at its peak. It's not outside the storm. It's inside the boat. The disciples had it with them the whole time. They just didn't see it yet. Now, There's a serious pushback here, and it deserves honest attention. Some critics argue that leaning on ancient scripture to address clinical anxiety is reckless, that it sidelines proven treatments, that it trades real medicine for magical thinking. And if faith were being offered as a replacement for therapy, that criticism would land hard. But that's not what the evidence shows. When researchers tested the effect of regular prayer on the body's stress chemicals, they found something striking. Cortisol, the hormone your body floods you with when you're anxious, dropped sharply after just a few weeks. Not from pills, from daily prayer. That doesn't mean you throw away your therapist's number. It means the toolkit is bigger than we thought, and the oldest tools in it still work. So what does using those tools actually look like? Paul's letter to the Philippians lays it out in 2 verses that have been studied, quoted, and tested more than almost any other passage on anxiety. He writes, "In everything, by prayer, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known." And then comes the result, a peace that guards your heart and mind. Notice the verb. Guards, not fees, visits, death, not he, floats nearby, t. Guards, like a soldier posted at the door of a fortress. This is not passive calm. It's active defense, and it has 2 parts most people overlook. The first is asking, you name the thing that frightens you. You don't bury it. You don't dress it up. You bring it forward, raw and honest. The second is thanksgiving. And this is the part that feels strange when you're anxious. Gratitude in the middle of dread seems absurd. But here's what it does. It breaks the loop. Anxiety feeds on a single track of thought. It spirals. Thanksgiving forces your mind onto a second track. It doesn't erase the first. It gives you a place to stand that isn't inside the spiral. That pairing, honest asking plus forced gratitude, builds something, not a feeling. A structure, a shield that holds even when the feelings don't cooperate. But Paul doesn't stop there. In his letter to the Romans, he pushes further. He calls for something he describes as the renewing of your mind. The Greek word he uses is the root of our word, warter metamorphosis. Now, the same word used to describe a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Total change, not tweaks, a deep rewiring. Think of your mind as a field. Left alone, it grows whatever the wind blows in. Weeds of fear, thorns of regret, tangles of what if. Renewal is the act of pulling those out by the roots and planting something chosen, something true, something that bears weight. This isn't a one-time event. It's daily. The weeds don't stop trying to grow back. Anyone who's tended a real garden knows this. You don't weed once and declare victory. You show up with dirty hands morning after morning, and you keep choosing what grows. And here's where the thesis hits its limit. And it's important to be honest about this. All of this, prayer, thanksgiving, mind renewal, works best inside a group. It struggles alone. A single candle in a dark room barely lights the floor. But place it next to 20 others, and you can see the walls. You can see the door. Scripture doesn't just suggest being together. It demands it. Bear one another's burdens, Paul writes. Cast your cares on him, Peter echoes. The language implies motion. You pick up the weight. You hand it to someone. They carry part of it. You carry part of theirs. The load doesn't vanish. It gets shared. Research backs this up. People meeting regularly, sharing honestly, and walking through anxiety together see their symptoms drop sharply compared to those who go it alone. Not because any building has magic walls, because something happens when people gather around a shared story and say, Rodris du fi. You're not the only one carrying this. 2. But being together does more than share present burdens. It anchors future hope. The final chapters of Revelation paint a picture that has comforted anxious readers for centuries. A world where tears are wiped away, where death and mourning and pain cease. You don't have to read it as a literal forecast to feel its pull. It's a horizon, a direction. And when anxiety tells you the darkness goes on forever, having a horizon, even one you can't fully see, changes everything. You're still in that dark room. Your chest is still tight. The thoughts are still circling, but now you have a name for what's happening. Your mind is divided, pulled apart by ropes you didn't tie. And you have a choice, not to feel nothing, but to shift your gaze, to name the fear honestly, to plant gratitude next to it, even when it feels forced, to show up tomorrow and tend the field again, to find the others carrying the same weight and hand them a lantern. If this story shifted something in you, even slightly, the next one goes deeper. It follows the thread into a place you won't expect. Subscribe so you don't miss it. The ropes are still there. They'll pull again tomorrow, but you're no longer being torn. You're holding on, and for the first time, you know which direction to pull back.